Well, everybody, I can't imagine that any of you don't know who Steven Donziger is. I'm sure you know that he is a Harvard-trained environmental activist and lawyer who led a team of lawyers who brought Chevron to account for the poisoning of an entire swath of the Amazon River back in the 1960s by then oil giant Texaco, since bought by Chevron. Chevron said that it would pay for this damage since it was intentionally inflicted in order to save money. It poisoned the water, the air, and the food of up to 30,000 Ecuadorian farmers. And ultimately, due to Steven's work and the work of these other lawyers, the Ecuadorian Supreme Court handed down a $9.5 billion judgment. So, did Chevron pay? Did Chevron even begin to try to make these farmers whole? No. Basically, to make a long story short, it has decided to deal with this case by coming after Steven Donziger. Steven Donziger has now been under house arrest for almost 1,000 days, plus 18 days in prison. The story is draconian because of a legal loophole. A U.S. court was actually handed over to Chevron for their show trial, yada, yada, yada. But today is good news. Today is the first day after these almost 1,000 days that as of 9 a.m. this morning, East Coast time, Steven Donziger is free. And he's here with us. Steven, never seen you look so good. Never seen you look so happy. So tell us everything. I mean, have you been to the park? First thing you did, you walked around the block? What'd you do?
Well, to actually get released, first, I'm so happy to see you, and thank you again for having me.
Always happy to see you.
Yeah, so I've been on home confinement now for almost 3 years, other than 45 days in the Danbury Federal Prison.
45 days in Danbury?
45 days. I was given a maximum 6-month sentence for a misdemeanor. It's an unprecedented charge. It was prosecuted privately by a Chevron law firm. I assert my innocence. It's on appeal, but the judges wanted me to serve my entire sentence even before my appeal could be heard. So my sentence ended today. And I had to go up to the halfway house in the Bronx, which is privately run by a private company that was overseeing my home confinement, as well as that of dozens and dozens of other people in the New York area. And they gave me my release papers. I turned in the prison phone, which I do these crazy biometric check-ins at all hours of the day and night, walked out, and it's over. At least that phase of it is over. And, look, it never should have happened. I shouldn't have spent one day in this situation. It was truly Kafkaesque. For example, this morning, I got a call at 5:20 in the morning from the halfway house to verify I was home. I was sleeping in my own bed. It never ended. I mean, literally, I was in a Uber up to the halfway house, the Bronx, to get my release papers, and I got a call from the prison monitoring center asking me to do a biometric check-in, which is I take their phone, take a selfie, send it into their computer system. I was on my way to get my release papers, and they made me do that. So the system is set up, I think, to harass. The policy, they call it policy. I consider it abuse to get these crazy phone calls. But bottom line is that's in the past. I'm not looking back. We're looking forward, and we have a lot of good work to do, but today's a day for celebration, man. I'm really so happy. I can't tell you how happy it is to finally be able to live again. I've lived this weird half-life, to be able to go to dinner and do basic things, So I haven't actually gotten a chance to go to the park yet, but my wife and I are going to lunch in about an hour without having to ask permission. I couldn't do those types of things for almost 3 years. So
you'll be able to go to the beach.
The beach. I grew up on the beach, by the way. I don't know. People.
Oh yeah, Florida, right?
Know me, but I grew up in Northeast Florida in Jacksonville, loving the beach, surfing when I was a kid. And it's been almost 3 years since I've been able to feel salt water on my body. I mean, I had this ankle bracelet on 24/7. I'd shower with it, eat with it, sleep with it. I could never take it off. And it was very big. It was burdensome. It was large. I had to pull it over my pants. It was noticeable. I never really wore shorts outside. I mean, I could get out for limited things like legal meetings or, school events for my son. I haven't worn shorts for almost 3 years other than around the house. It's weird. I mean, everything's going to change, and I'm, it's look, I mean, there's people in prison for many, many years, 10 years, 20 years, 30 years, they get out. It's like the world has radically changed. But even in my limited time, almost 3 years, like it's just, I don't know, it's like, how do I get on an airplane? What kind of COVID vaccination? I mean, I don't even know what's going on out there. So I look forward to getting reacquainted to life fully
Yeah.
lived.
Well, we're all very happy for you. And also, those 40 days in prison, in an actual federal prison, gave you insight, experiences that I know impacted you very deeply, including your relationships that you forged with some of the
Yeah.
men who were in there, some of the very noble acts that were demonstrated on behalf of prisoners, and some of the really borderline cruel things that were demonstrated on the part of some prison officials, not all of them. So I know that as you move forward, and when you and I talked about this personally a couple of weeks ago when I was in New York, it will take some time to reacquaint yourself with walking down the street without somebody looking over you, knowing that at any given moment of the day or night, somebody could call, where are you? What are you doing? I mean, just that talk about a hand of Big Brother. And so it will take time. And one of the things we talked about was not only will it take time to reacquaint yourself with life as it can be lived, but also to reacquaint yourself, not reacquaint, but acquaint yourself for the first time with where you want to be now, what you want to do now. You are a famous person now. And I say that not in terms of your celebrity, but in terms of your significance. People know about this case. They know about this case is bigger than you, that it has to do with Chevron's, and by Chevron, by extension, all of Big Oil's effort to freeze environmental protests, to make it clear, even to the Harvard-trained lawyers among us, that there will be no further protest, basically, that there is a line past which you dare not go. And if you do, they're going to come after you. And even if it's in the most egregious ways, the US government will not necessarily protect you. In addition to that, of course, you've had the experience being in prison, and I know that has given you some deep insight. Many people will be looking to you now, for almost 3 years, it's been you looking to us to help you. I know you still have legal challenges that will be coming down the pike, and still, tremendous legal fees, et cetera, and people will want to know about that. But also people are going to be looking to you for leadership now in terms of all of these issues, all human rights abuses. You said, I know you starting a Substack that you're going to be writing on?
Yeah, well, thank you. You're so kind and maybe overly generous with the way you describe my situation, but I want to tell you that a couple of points that you hit on that are important to me. I mean, one is Chevron overreached and they tried to crush me. And what happened was I came back 10 times stronger. What you say, my significance, I mean, it is true. A lot of people are looking to me now, looking to this example for guidance on how to confront the fossil fuel industry, because if we don't do that effectively as a society, as a citizenry, we're going to lose our planet as we know it. That is happening now. And I really see Chevron's private prosecution of me, its attacks on me, which have gone on now for 10 years. They've spent $3 billion on 2,000 lawyers and 60 law firms doing this, by the way. I don't think there's been anyone in our country's history who's been the target of a corporate finance retaliation campaign to the extent I've been, and many people have been targets, but this has just been extraordinary. So what ended up happening is I now have a platform and a voice much larger than I've ever had before, and I love human rights work. I'm fundamentally a human rights lawyer and activist, and I plan to use that platform, Marianne, to continue advocating for human rights victims all over the place, all over the world. Ecuador, first and foremost, but other places as well. So, Chevron's effort to silence me and try to turn me into some vehicle to intimidate other people has utterly failed. And, look, I want to take a little bit of a breather. This has been, the intensity of fighting for one's freedom, the kind of low-grade stress you're always living with, which is my life and has been my life now for almost 3 years, trying to get out of this situation. I think it takes its toll. But overall, I feel very energized today. I feel very energized from the experience. I feel incredibly uplifted by the support received from you and the independent media and the Nobel Peace Laureates who back me and the lawyers all over the world. I mean, I feel great, even though it was an extremely painful experience for me and my family to go through what we just went through. So I'm going to keep moving. And I ask people to keep supporting me and others who do this work. It's critically important.
To keep up with what's going on in your case, because I know there are more layers of vicissitudes, even though this phase of their assault on you is over. Do people still go to freedonziger.com, or should we change the name of that URL? Or
well, it's funny. It's yes, go to freedonziger.com.
Yeah.
Say this.
The legal challenge, they're still coming after you, right?
Yeah. So there's a civil case against me where they're going, continue to ask me to reimburse them their legal fees. And there's all sorts of things going on. I don't know where that's heading at this point, but I do know that we have legal expenses that are substantial, including both to protect me and my family, but also to help the Ecuadorian communities, the indigenous peoples and farmer communities enforce their judgment against Chevron's assets, because Chevron's like running around the world like, chase me, we're not going to pay. So there's a separate group of lawyers, not me, that is managing that aspect of this. And I'm also fighting to get my law license back. I mean, I am a lawyer, but they took my law license. I can't practice law until I get my license back. So we're working on that. By the way, I lost my law license because Chevron orchestrated the removal of my law license, not because I did anything wrong. I want to be very clear about that. And this happened without even giving me a hearing. That's another aspect of the story. But the point is, they've attacked me from every angle they could think of, law license, trying to bankrupt me, putting me in jail. I mean, nothing has worked. It's only made me stronger, even though it has caused, quite a bit of pain to me and my family. But again, we feel good, we feel strong, and we're going to move forward. There's something very liberating about speaking truth to power. I mean, it's like, just don't be afraid of your truth. I mean, I have fought for the people I had the honor of representing down in the Amazon now for 28 years. I mean, they asked me to represent them along with many other lawyers. Not my case, by the way. A lot of lawyers worked on it. It's the case of the communities. And I was honored to be asked to do this. And I took my obligations extremely seriously. And I'm still here, and they have a need. And, the indigenous peoples are getting exposed to Chevron's, poisonous oil waste multiple times a day, as you pointed out in the introduction. And we need to I think we need to shift the focus from Steven Donziger to the people of Ecuador, which is what this is really about. They've tried to use me as a weapon of mass distraction, so people don't think about the environmental crimes they committed in the Amazon that are literally killing people as we speak.
Mass distraction, weapon of mass destruction. I really hear that and relate to that. So this is the deal. We're living at a time, I think the nonviolent revolution of our times has begun. People are recognizing how this system operates. I think there's, just as there's what they call intersectionality among the problems, there's intersectionality among the solutions. And the pushback has begun. Whether it's Christian Smalls and Amazon, or the unionization drives at Starbucks and elsewhere, whether it has to do with your case, whether it has to do with climate activism all over the world, the IPCC report, whether it has to do with political prisoners such as Julian Assange, whether it has to do with the entire system of private prisons and mass incarceration. There's an awakening, Stephen. I actually think that COVID, in the quiet, you become more. At first, all that quiet drives you nuts, and then it takes you to a deeper place. So I'm so glad that people became as aware of your case as they did while you went through this phase of personal horror. I know I speak for many and saying, so glad for you. So glad for you that phase of things is over. I can't wait to see you again and celebrate with you.
You're one of the people in this world I have the most respect for. You've been with me like for 2 years when we first met. I mean, you picked up on what was happening very quickly before many people understood this. When you get attacked in a slap lawsuit like this, they try to hide what it really is in the technicality of the law, esoterica of the law, like, oh, it's an extortion claim, or it's a this claim. No. This is abusing the legal process to silence an advocate, a lawyer. And I'm, as far as I know, the only human rights lawyer in the United States of America who's been locked up for doing his job correctly. that happened to me in this country. And that is scary as heck. And we have to work together to make sure that doesn't happen ever again to another human rights lawyer anywhere in the world, much less in the United States of America, which considers it to be a rule of law country. So, this goes way beyond me. It really goes to what kind of society we want. And I want to mention one other rather pedestrian thing, you raised it, which is I am starting a Substack. By the way, people might not know this, but I used to be a journalist before I became a lawyer. I love writing.
That's why you're such a good writer.
Well, thank you. That's sweet to say, but I love writing. I have so much to write about, and I'm going to be writing every week about some interesting topic. Yes, the Ecuador case will be part of it, but it's going to be much bigger than that. And I would, if people can help me by subscribing, that's one way it'll make my life easier because I can't practice law anymore. And
what is it? StevenDonziger.substack.com.
Exactly. StevenDonziger.substack.
Laura, make sure you write that on Substack and send them.
When I say subscribe, as you know, you subscribe for free. You don't have to pay. I want you to get
It's great. Yeah, I have a Substack page, and it's great because you get to continually put out your thoughts and your reflections and what's going on. It's a great thing. And like you said, subscription is free.
Yeah. Our mutual friend Chris Hedges just started one. I love Chris. There's so many interesting your voice, and there's so many interesting independent voices on Substack right now. So
of course. You and I have discussed, I don't remember who first told me about your case, but as you said, it wasn't famous at the time. I was raised by a father who used to always rail about a sense of injustice, having a sense of injustice. And I've learned in my life that, my father used to talk about the Byzantine rule, that things are not what they appear, usually pretty much opposite of what they appear. So if the system's coming at somebody, you might want to take a second look, because it's probably not, there might be a reason why they're coming after them. There's not at all what you think. I'm so glad that so many people have picked up on what's obviously going on here. Shout out to the great Susan Sarandon, of course, and Roger Waters and your marvelous legal team. And so many, I know I speak for Steven and to all of you guys who have spread the word about Steven, who have given money to his legal defense already. I know how grateful Steven and Laura are when you have something like Chevron coming after you. I don't think most of us can even imagine what this feels like to have not only Chevron coming after you, but they're able to basically borrow the power of the US government and courtrooms and every other means of punishment to make it clear that these people are very serious. And what's happening now, Steven, is that the system is very serious about its assault on certain stands for justice. And what's starting to happen now is that the people of the United States are making it clear we're very serious too.
It's true. Can I say one more thing?
Yeah.
We're trying to get, this might sound crazy because I did nothing wrong, but we're trying to get President Biden to pardon me. There's a movement.
Yeah, hello.
Yeah.
Hello, Joe Biden. Joe Biden, listen, Mr. President, not that I think you're going to see this, but maybe somebody will see it who will get to say it. You permitted oil drilling on public lands the other day, contrary to anything that has to do with serious environmental protection. One way you can compensate for this egregious transgression against any kind of environmental sincerity is to pardon Steven Donziger. What do you think? Was that good?
That was excellent. And I'll add this. I'm calling on Joe Biden directly to pardon me. Listen, sir, I know you care about the environment, but no,
don't give him that. Don't give him that. It's time for him to, he says he cares, and it's time for him to demonstrate how much he cares.
Let's walk the walk here. Okay. You just let an oil company called Chevron privately prosecute in the name of your government a successful American human rights lawyer to the shame of our country. And by the way, I mean, you know as well as I, the judges here, the two judges who orchestrated this along with the Chevron lawyers, I don't stand a chance in heck of getting legal relief in courts here. Even the United Nations Working Group on Arbitrary Detention looked at the record of this case, called the level of judicial bias appalling.
And said you should be compensated, not only free, but compensated.
So the only way this can be corrected at this point is through a pardon by President Biden. By the way, the Attorney General Garland refuses, we've been calling on this for a year, he's refused to take back the private prosecution from Chevron and just put it into the Department of Justice. I mean, how crazy is that? What country allows a private corporation to personally prosecute using the machinery of the criminal justice system, its leading critic, and lock him up? That's what happened to me. Folks, this is scary. Okay, so please, President Biden, pay attention to this. There's a pardon letter on your desk. 10 great lawyers signed it. Thousands of citizens have also signed it. Please consider it. Please pardon me. It's important.
And I'd like to add something here, everyone. There's a lot of talk today about the difference between a democracy and an authoritarian government. So let's take a moment to celebrate the fact that we can say to Joe Biden what we want to say today. Let's celebrate the fact that we can freely do this. We can be on here and say, excuse me, President Biden, walk your talk on this. So number one, I do want to say that this is also a day to celebrate on what America is supposed to be. That's why we're so upset, because this isn't what America is supposed to be. I celebrate the fact that we can be honest with the president. We certainly have respect for the office, but we've got to stop. Those of us who are on the left, those of us who are Democrats, must stop apologizing for this president in areas like this. The drilling on public lands was egregious. Deb Haaland, Secretary of the Interior, I don't know why you didn't resign that day. You are a woman of Native American heritage. Let's look at this for what it is, performative, performative, performative. And instead, your statement about how American taxpayers should get a return on their investment. What kind of capitalist propaganda is that? So this is a good time, everyone, for us to up our participation. It's not because we don't love our democracy, it's because we do love our democracy. Not because we don't love our freedoms, it's because we do love our freedoms. Not because we don't love the earth, but because we do love the earth. Not because we don't love justice, just because we do love justice. So let's all give a big shout out to the President of the United States. He can begin his atonements and his change by pardoning Steven Donziger. Let this be the day. How'd we do, Steven?
That was beautiful, as always.
Yeah.
By the way, you're pretty good with your politics and you're very articulate. Have you ever considered running for public office?
Yeah, I know. so far it hasn't worked out, but we'll see what happens. I love you, Steven. Thank you so much. Everybody, thank you. Spread the word, celebrate, raise a glass and toast to Steven. Big shout out to his marvelous wife, Laura. This hasn't been easy, I'm sure, for you, Laura, but I'm sure that a lot of the strength displayed by this great man has been the great woman behind him. Much love to you guys. Talk to you later.